Now improve your English by answering an interesting question. If you want to get stronger, it's important to practice.
Hi, I'm Eric. Welcome back to Speaking Practice. You've been watching and practicing with all the previous videos in this series, right? If you haven't, it's okay. These videos aren't going away. You can use them anytime you like. I think they're useful for anyone who wants to improve their English, but actually, they're made for those students who want to study abroad at university, and so must prepare to take the TOEFL. So basically, if you're still a beginner in English, this may be very difficult. And actually, today's question is a little more difficult, I think, than the others. Anyway, what am I talking about? It's time to practice, right? That's what you're here for. Let's get started.
Speaking practice number 19. Today's question: which do you prefer? To buy the latest model e-product like a smartphone or tablet as soon as it's released? Or to wait for a while and then decide whether you'll buy it? Well, you may be wondering what an e-product is. But if you understand that the E means electronic, then you might have a clear idea of what this question is asking. In this way, E is used in front of other words to mean that it's electronic, it's high technology. If you see this kind of question on the TOEFL, it's an independent speaking question. You have to explain which option you prefer, and you have only 15 seconds to prepare your answer. Then, you have to speak for 45 seconds, giving details and examples, explaining your idea as clearly as possible in that time. Want to try? Don't be shy. You have to practice. Then, after you've thought about what you would like to say, let's take a look. Example answer. I generally prefer to wait before I buy a new e-product because I know they often get upgraded in a short period of time. I understand the appeal of getting the latest gadget as soon as possible because I felt the excitement of buying them and showing off to my friends. However, these products not only need to be functional, but also reliable. And usually, new e-products still have some bugs. For example, I once bought a new tablet that had a touch screen and some other advanced features. But after a few weeks, I began to feel frustrated because apps would crash, forcing me to reboot, and sometimes videos wouldn't have any sound. Things like that. Then, less than a year later, the developer stopped making them and launched a new kind of tablet that was very reliable and functional.
Once again, we had to think about a rather surprising topic. Maybe it was a little unexpected. I don't know if you like buying e-products or if you have any experience buying e-products, but it doesn't matter. You just have to try your best and use your imagination. You really might get asked a question that you don't have any real life experience with. What do you do in this situation? Use imagination. Many students just give up. They think they can't do it. Maybe they haven't practiced enough and they don't have confidence. But if you put your speech in good order, include many details and examples, speak smoothly, you're going to be all right. Now, in the next part of today's presentation, I want to talk a little bit about grammar. Grammar is hard to study because it's difficult to explain well, and many students don't really like it, but it is important. So sometimes you just have to try. Anyway, if you're ready, let's take a look.
Good grammar. For real life or for imagination. There are many different kinds of questions you could get. You could be asked about a situation that is a part of real life, something normal, or that you've never thought about before, that makes you use imagination. If you have to use your imagination to answer the question, if you're talking about an unreal situation, you have to use the right grammar, which is called the conditional. There are many topics that you could be asked to think about. Some examples include, get a new apartment, get a new dog, choose a new roommate, choose a new job, change your dormitory, or change your travel plans. These situations aren't really happening to you right now, so you should use your imagination. Let's look at one of these. Let's talk about getting a new dog. I like dogs. If I really decided to get a new dog and made plans to do it, then I should say, I'm going to get a new dog. But be careful, because this grammar shows that you're really getting a new dog. When you say, I'm going to, it's a real-life situation. But if you're just answering a question on the TOEFL, then you are imagining the situation. You're really taking a test. That's why you have to use the grammar of imagination, which is the conditional. The conditional starts with if and uses the past tense. Often we say, if I were. So in this case, you should say, if I were going to get a new dog, I would get a Cerberus. That's good grammar. That's how you should talk when you're using imagination. Talking about an unreal situation, you should use the conditional. However, sometimes you'll talk about things that actually happen in life. Sometimes you have to talk about situations that really happen and that you really know about. That's when you use the grammar called indicative. It's for real-life situations or normal situations. Today's question asked, which do you prefer, to buy as soon as possible or wait and decide later? For me, this is a normal, real-life situation. So I answered in a real-life way, saying, I usually wait before I buy. Again, there are many examples that you could be asked to think about, such as buying something, studying, smartphones, emailing or calling, getting ready in the morning, etc. To talk about these situations, it's good to use expressions that show how common they are. For example, I usually buy after waiting. I often study in the library. I frequently bring my smartphone to school. I generally email because I'm too busy to call. Or, I normally get up at 7 o'clock. If you want to give an example of something that's really a part of your life, you should use the indicative grammar and talk about how common it is for you by saying things like normally, usually, generally, etc. So these are two kinds of grammar you should really understand and really know how and when to use. For a real-life situation, you should use the indicative, saying something like, I normally wake up at 7 o'clock. But if you're imagining a situation that's not really happening in your life, then you should use the conditional grammar. You can say something like, if I were going to get a new dog, I would get a Cerberus. It's an unreal situation, something you're just thinking about, not really doing. Key words. And today's topic asked, should we buy when it's new or wait and decide later? Number 1 is gadget. A gadget is an electronic tool or device with a special or ingenious design. Almost any little device can be called a gadget, especially if it seems cool and you're curious about it or impressed by it. Number 2 is showing off. Showing off means showing people something you're very proud of in order to appear cool or special. It could be a talent you have or something you own, like a cool car. People like to show off their cool cars. Number 3 is function. Function means the work that something does, what something is made for. Also, something that is functional is a good tool. As an example, we can look at the human body. It has many parts and each part has a function. These are the lungs. The lungs have the function of breathing. There's the heart. The function of the heart is pumping blood. And this is the liver. It has many functions. Next is bugs. A very common word, really. Bugs are just insects. But also, when a device has some problems with its operation, we say it has some bugs. The problems are bugs. Finally, number 5 is launch. Launch means releasing something with great force, such as a missile or rocket. But it is also said when a company starts selling a new product. They launch the new product. And when talking about computers, it just means begin or start. Launch. Next question. Practicing is really important, so don't forget to try the next question. Here it is. If you have to choose between 2 apartments to live in next semester, one apartment being near the campus but slightly expensive, while the other is a little far from the campus but cheaper, which one do you prefer and why? Try this question on your own. Try all these questions on your own. Don't be afraid to use your brain. You may think it's difficult, but I think you can do this.
And that's the end of today's lesson. Do you understand the difference between the conditional and the indicative? These grammar names aren't so important unless you're going to become an English teacher. But variety is important in your speeches. And it's good to try to sound like a native speaker if you can. And since native speakers always mix up their grammar patterns naturally when they're speaking, you should try to do it too. Practice talking about unreal situations and real daily life situations together in the same speech. Put some variety into your speaking. Also, I know that everybody who watches these videos must have different ideas about how to answer. That's really good. Please leave a comment below. I'm sure it's going to help out the other learners, and it might start an interesting conversation. Also, please don't forget to push the like button and subscribe to my channel. It really helps out a lot. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to practice.